Guilty as charged. Guilty as charged.
Guilty as charged.
Guilty as charged. That's my guy.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Guilty as Charged podcast. Obviously, a bit of a somber podcast on schedule today as we deal with the ramifications of Rashawn Slater's now confirmed torn patella tendon. Just one of my least favorite days of all time in Chargers fandom in training camp. Just the vibes all around are not good. I feel like this is an episode that we might need Tyler's mom on for to maybe turn this into a little bit of a therapy session. But we are here to cover all of it. We'll talk about how the Chargers can potentially move around some pieces and things like that, some options from a free agency and a trade standpoint. But yeah, man, just not a great day overall for the fandom, for the fan base rather. And obviously for Rashawn Slater, feel horrible for him. So we'll get through all of that. Tyler is here to join me. I don't know, man, like just horrible vibes all around, but like, how are you doing?
Personally, I'm great. We had our first day of ASB boot camp today, so it was nice to meet some of the new kids coming in and the returning ASB kids and whatnot. So that was all good. Everything was going great. I was having a very good morning, and then it was injury, bad injury, and then like confirmed terrible injury out for the year. So it was a gut punch. You know, some of these things, not that you don't feel bad, right? But like Mike Williams retiring, we as like, you know, I don't know, we've been here, done that sort of thing. We can weather that storm. Najee Harris, that was a strange situation, but we can weather that storm. Your second best player, arguably even the best player at his position on the team, going down with a season-ending injury a few days after getting the highest paid contract by an offensive tackle, that was a gut punch. Like I genuinely just was in a funk and still am in a bit of a funk. I'm glad we have shows like this and people like coming to shows like this because talking through it is a bit of therapy, and we're going to hopefully give you guys some ideas of what's out there. Spoiler, they're probably not trading or signing really anybody that's going to start. But yeah, it was a gut punch. And anybody like, will the Chargers survive this? Probably. But will they thrive because of this? No. Yeah. Gosh, no. And anyone trying to say that everything is fine and the Chargers are going to be just fine without him, you're kidding yourself. And it's really disappointing that a player this important is now out for the season. It takes away the drop off for what this offense and as a whole and individually can do drops off significantly. You know, you want to push the ball downfield to Keandre Lambert-Smith and Trey Harris. Yeah, you might still be able to do that, but at what cost to Justin Herbert? Or if you're trying to make a short game now, well, Keandre Lambert-Smith, sorry, like we're not really chucking the ball down the field as much as we'd like to. You know, okay, Hampton, can he have a better rookie season than Genty? Maybe. I think he still has a better line, but it's going to drop a little bit. Everything just drops a little bit more. Maybe you felt okay throwing out Aronde Gadsden a bit more because you had your two tackles. Well, now you might need more of your blockers in there. You might not be able to have Gadsden out. Gadsden becomes a bit more of a luxury now because you may need another tight end in there. Joe Alt, unfortunately, it's the best drop-off possible to go from Rashawn Slater to Joe Alt at left tackle, but it is a tiny bit of a drop-off. And now the player that got more help last year is the guy that's now going to be playing left tackle and more isolated because everyone's helping what I assume is going to be Trent Pipkins. Everyone just gets worse. There's more of a risk to the quarterback getting hurt. And it just also magnifies, again, the glaring weaknesses along the interior offensive line. You can maybe think you can buy it. Like, look, the interior got one spot better. You pray the other two work out, but at least you have your tackles. You don't have that anymore. It's a real bummer overall.
Yeah, obviously, I think for me, like for the Chargers in 2025, I don't know truly like how much this is going to impact their win-loss total. I think it definitely takes them down a peg in the AFC as a whole. But man, I just feel for Rashawn as a person. And I know that there are certain people out there who will be like, he got paid, he's fine. As a human being, like somebody who's been through that particular injury and who's been through other season-ending injuries, it just sucks, man. Like, he's torn his tricep. He did the tricep thing. He played through 2 high ankle sprains. Last season, he played through a pec injury. And presumably now, like, all positive vibes heading into, a contract extension year. And this injury in particular is arguably the worst potential injury that you could have in terms of a return to form. There are a lot of Chargers fans that are like, his career is over. I don't think that's the case. If he were an older tackle, if he were 33, 34, I think, yeah, like that career is probably over. JC Jackson, we just went through this. He's a corner who was older, tore his patella tendon. Yeah, his career is over. I think Rashawn will be able to return to play. But to the form that he has been playing at, I think that's the biggest question for me of like when he is able to get back. And there are several studies out there about return to effectiveness, and several different examples. Like Victor Cruz tore his patella tendon and he came back and was like fine, but he wasn't ever the same Victor Cruz that was always salsa dancing, right? Gerard Mayo tore his patella tendon and he was fine when he came back, but he wasn't really ever like that same level of player. And there are examples of younger players coming back and being fine. Obviously, the Chiefs are dealing with this right now with I was going to say Josh Simmons, their left tackle who tore his patella tendon at Ohio State, and potentially is going to be starting for them. So I think Rashawn will come back, and the silver lining is that this is happening in August, not November. But to the path of recovery, it's going to be very difficult. This is a very brutal recovery as someone who has gone through it. It's never going to feel like it was prior to. Like, this is an injury that just saps you more than any other injuries. And so when the notification came down that he was injured, that he was carted off, the worst possible outcome my brain goes to is this is a patella tendon injury, because this is such a difficult injury to come back from. Players come back from ACL injuries like it's nothing nowadays. MCL injuries, kind of thing. The return to form at those injuries is basically like 80% at this point in time. Patella tendon is more like 50%. And so the chances of Rashawn being an all-pro player again are not looking great. And I don't want to put that kind of expectation on him, but it just sucks. On a human level, it sucks. On a Chargers level, it sucks, but more so for the player going through this particular injury, it's just a horrible injury. The recovery is not fun at all, and the return to form is just going to be very, very difficult.
Yeah, and that's the critical thing here. Beyond the human part, is just like, what does he return to? Like, he will return. So the person we love to talk to but hate to talk to, like I talked to Jameson Omar. If you've been around on the channel for a little bit, he's went to Stanford, went to Yale, full-on doctor now. So proud.
Yeah, one of the smartest people in the fan base for sure.
100%. And he told me 5 to 9 month recovery, and that he could be like full to go by training camp next year. So that's good. Like, that's the silver lining, right? This happened in August, not mid-December. So he misses the whole season. He's on IR, but the start of next year, he can be back. And he could be full in terms of cleared and no lingering issues. But like, what is left? What is left at this point? What does he go back to? I don't know. As you pointed out, it's not like everybody just comes back from their ACL and somehow they're better and Adrian Peterson has 2,000 yards or whatever. It's not like that. It's a very, very difficult thing to come back from. Otito Ogbonnia had a ruptured patella tendon, a left patellar tendon issue. He's at least back. But like you've pointed out,
I think Austin Johnson had that too, right? Or was his an ACL?
I don't recall. He had a pretty nasty, he might have had like a couple things in his knee, if I'm not mistaken. But it's about the level of play they return to, right? It's not just that they do return, because he can physically return to football. Just what is that level of play? That's the concern. A lot of people suggesting different things. Alt's left tackle, Slater's a guard, trade Slater, whatever. I don't know. All I know is for this entire season, that the main focus is, what do you do next? That is the big problem. So yeah, real bummer to start the year. It's starting to feel not like a cursed year, but it's just starting to feel like one of those years. I mean, a player retires that no one thought would retire. with some, I think, lingering issue that never got fully fixed. Najee Harris is a very significant eye issue, which we knew about anyway, but now he's kind of outed himself with the selfie where his eye is completely shut and swollen. Rashawn Slater tears his patellar tendon. It's just been a rough offseason so far, and that's some pretty big losses. I have no idea when Najee Harris is coming back, if that's the progress of his eye. Now 1 month and 3 days later, 2 days because it was yesterday. So I don't know when he comes back. Everything it's a chipping away at the Chargers in the same way that they like added, bits and pieces here and there to make them 1 to 2% better. It's now chipping at the Chargers overall, and they start this year with the Chiefs. Like, okay, so there's your Chris Jones. Sure, he's a D tackle. Probably goes into the Hall of Fame as a D tackle. He'll play edge plenty, I'm pretty sure. Granted, he has a pick of who to line up against at this point. I mean, the worst rusher or defense they might face is like Max Crosby or like the Giants with Abdul Carter. Like the Broncos maybe don't have like a Chris Jones or a Max Crosby, but they have the best defense. Like the first 4 weeks suck. They suck for offensive line play.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I think the Chargers are uniquely qualified to handle this, obviously, because Joe Alt can just flip sides to the left tackle. And I don't understand. Like everybody is like, oh, like maybe they'll try this, maybe they'll try that. They've already shown their cards that Joe Alt is going to be left tackle. Like he played week 18 last year at left tackle. They've had, throughout all of the hold-in stuff, they've had several opportunities at practice to try other things, and it's always just been, we're just going to kick Joe out to left tackle. So I think like the dip there at that position is not going to be that difficult, and like we don't know for sure if Joe Alt can be as good as Rashawn Slater right now, but I think he's going to be really freaking good this year. The thing that sucks with that is that I truly think that the whole identity of Becton and Alt was going to be like crucial to that, and they were going to be able to just do different things that way, and it really balanced out the field from a run blocking perspective because you had Slater and Zion, and then you had Becton and Alt, and like the run blocking quality was even. Now you're moving Alt over there, and you kind of get back to the same issues as last year where the right side was not nearly as good from a run blocking perspective, and Becton will help assuming he's healthy. So this changes everything from a Chargers perspective. And again, Hayden Winks kind of referenced this, that the difference from going from an elite left tackle to or right tackle, I assume is the same kind of thing, to an average right tackle is 0.1 EPA per play. And essentially that takes you from like the Packers offense last year to the Jaguars. And so even if you are doing Joe Alt at left tackle, Trey Pipkins at right tackle, this is drastically changing your offense. It's drastically changing your season. Does this mean that the Chargers can't get to the playoffs? No, I still think that they can definitely challenge for the playoffs and potentially make that. But you and I have talked about this season needs to result in some kind of playoff win. Yeah. Well, now maybe instead of potentially like getting up as high to a 5 seed, and I know some people will say like, oh, they could win the division. I never thought that. Now instead of being the 5 seed playing at the AFC South team, which I assume is going to be the Houston Texans, and maybe winning that game, now you're talking about maybe you're the 7 seed and you have to go play at Buffalo or at Baltimore, and like it just becomes much more difficult to potentially win a playoff game in that scenario. So the ceiling of this team is changed dramatically by losing Rashawn Slater. And I think they'll be overall like fine on offense just because Joe Alt is that guy, and we can get into the Trey Pipkins aspect of this, but it just sucks, man. Like the season hasn't even started yet, and we're already like lowering expectations, and this player is, his career is potentially changing forever. So the vibes are horrible. Sending all thoughts and prayers to Rashawn throughout this time. Again, having been through this, I know how difficult it is. So, I think he's in a position where he can come back from this and play again. But it's tough. It's a tough day as a Chargers fans because this specific injury is just so difficult for offensive linemen to come back from.
Yeah. I can't even imagine the beginning of something like this. I've never had a serious injury, so I don't like I've watched my wife like tear her ACL and work back from that, but I've never gone through it myself. And I just can't imagine the emotional aspect of it. Not to mention just all the injuries that he has accumulated over the years. It's not like this is a player with a clean bill of health for every single year. And this almost feels like a one-off. It's an accumulation at this point, which does definitely have me concerned. Was part of the reason, as you mentioned, some other clauses in the contract that were discussed given the injury history. But this, like, does it really change the number of games that they win? I think it does. How much is TBD? But to me, it's like, okay, and I'm just making this up. Maybe somebody feels differently in the chat. But let's say your coin flip games were like Minnesota, one of the Kansas City games, and like Houston. Let's say those are your coin flip games. Like, it flips the other direction against your team when you lose Rashawn Slater.
Yeah.
Like, if it's 50-50, it is now no longer that. And I think you have to start to consider that the teams that it was a 50-50 to win, they now kind of have the advantage there. And I don't know. So, like, before the season, before any of this happened, and fireworks and retirements and patellar tendon injuries, we're settled at like 11 to 12 wins. I think we both ended up settling at 11 after the draft or whatever. It's not 11 for me anymore. I don't know what it's going to be, but the games that I found that were coin flips, I have to at least take one of those away. Like, Rashawn Slater to me is worth a win and a coin flip in the positive direction.
Yeah, I agree. There were a lot of fans who, full tilt, and I get it. This team's going to win 6 games, 7 games. Yeah.
Like, wow.
I love Rashawn. Again, this is going to change things for sure. But there are not many non-quarterbacks who are worth, 3-4 wins in the NFL. Like, it's just just not that many. You're probably talking about like Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons. That's probably it. It's just a little easier to deal with than a quarterback. So can this still be a 10-win team? I think so. Again, they'll have to muck up some games in those games that you're talking about. They're going to play Houston again, and Trey Pipkins against Danielle Hunter I'm not crazy about. So you got to just muck that game up and make it ugly and win 17-13 kind of situation, and that's how they'll have to play certain weeks. So this regime, again, this is where Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman and Jesse Minter are going to have to kind of raise their level a little bit and overcompensate for not having, because honestly, like, outside of Justin Herbert, your next 2 best players this year were probably going to be ending up in some combination of Slater and Joe Alls, like, projecting towards the end of the season. And so now you take your 2 elite potential offensive tackles away, you're going to have to change some things. It's just going to be the reality there. So, yeah, man, it's tough. It sucks. It's not good. The vibes in the chat are not great. And I get it. We're right there with you guys because I mean, Rashawn's jersey is hanging up right here. He's one of my favorite players I've ever watched in a Chargers uniform. And now his career's potentially changed forever. So we'll get into some of the aftermath here, talk about some ways that the Chargers can potentially add to this room, and hopefully stabilize some of the situation next year.
Yes. I know it sucks that it happened after the contract. Some people are saying like, well, they never should have done that contract or never guaranteed him that much. You have to. You have to with the left tackle like this. It was the right move at the time. Not that the Chargers were never concerned about any issues. It's just the timing really sucks. So sure, hindsight is 2020, but like you had to make this move. You had to just sign him to that contract. So yeah, it's just a huge bummer. As it's not Roschon Johnson, but looks like Roschon Johnson, the Bears running back. Hate to be super negative and pessimistic. Is Rashawn going to be the new Joey Bosa of the team? Super high paid, great one on the field, but injury prone, misses time yearly. TBD on how that all turns out. Obviously with Joey, it was several years of that. But to me, and you and I were kind of discussing this, and we discussed it with our chat, it's just a bummer, the history of Chargers players in the last decade or so that were taken that could have been like elite all-timers. And like genuinely, Rashawn Slater, if he were healthy for the next 10 plus years, has a Lane Johnson type, potentially trending towards Hall of Fame career. Like he could have been that guy. And we remember Alt and Slater like on our deathbeds. We're remembering them. And maybe we still do. I don't know. But like, it sucks that it's going that way. Jason Verrett, Joey Bosa, all these guys that like they could have been more, and they just weren't because of significant, consistent injuries.
Yeah, I mean, we've really only had one full season of Slater being like actively healthy, and it was second team All Pro as a rookie. So, it's just it sucks. I'm hoping this is more of a Keenan Allen situation where he gets injured early in his career and then is able to put those injuries behind him. But you mentioned there are several other players too. Like a Mike Williams kind of player. Trevor Williams is another one who stands out. Like there's just a lot, unfortunately, for the Chargers. What could have been with Corey Linsley without the heart thing going on. It sucks. It's not fun.
Yeah, no, it's not. Shall we look at the roster?
Yeah, let's do it. So getting to some other offensive line news as well. So Mekhi Becton has continued to not practice. He has not practiced since July 29th, which was day 11. Jim Harbaugh has said that his injury is extremely minor. There are people obviously freaking out about this given his history.
Mm-hmm.
I was told that if the Chargers had a game, he would be practicing and playing. So this is a maintenance thing. I think they're trying to just make sure that Mekhi can get to the season healthy. But I understand why people are freaking out because he does have a history of stuff, but he's healthy, should be able to play. Obviously, I would love for him to be out there, but I'm not super concerned about Mekhi Becton.
I'm not because they are like some teams are playing right now their first preseason game, and we're already a week out of the Chargers already playing their first preseason game. Yeah. So there's a long time to go. So I'm not necessarily concerned. It just really magnifies that he's not out there for the 6th day in a row when Rashawn Slater goes down. And Bradley Bozeman didn't practice either, and Branson Taylor got hurt supposedly. Actually, I don't know officially where he's at with that, but I'm not concerned yet. But this is a player with an injury history.
Yeah, I get it. Bradley Bozeman did not practice today. This was a veteran rest day, which was not necessarily confirmed, but I reached out and was told that it was a veteran rest day. It also confirms that the Zion Johnson center experiment is over because Andre James was working with the first team offense at center, not Zion Johnson. So if you thought that it wasn't over, it's over, unfortunately, for that whole thing. And then Branson Taylor, as you mentioned, left today's practice with a trainer. We'll see what happens there. That's obviously not going to drum up as much, buzz as, the Rashawn Slater injury. But if he's also going to be injured long-term, the Chargers don't really have a lot of bodies right now. Like they need offensive linemen in a big way in terms of just like being able to practice and run through a preseason game. So I would expect some kind of transaction relatively soon, and we'll get into some like Slater replacements, but they'll need some kind of UDFA or I always forget his name, the one they signed from the UFL. I feel so bad for this.
Wow, you scared it out of me too. Oh gosh, I can name you Carson Barnhart, Corey Stewart, Josh Kaltenberger. Not Watson. Not Watson.
Wait. I think we have it. Yeah. Ryan Nelson. There we go. I was like, I knew I put it in one of these slides.
Oh my gosh.
They're going to need some healthy body to come in here and practice because they don't have a lot right now. Apologies to Ryan Nelson, who I thought actually showed some good things in the Lions game. But they just don't have a lot of healthy offensive linemen right now. Mekhi not practicing. If they're going to give Bozeman rest days, Branson Taylor not healthy, Slater not healthy. They're running out of some bodies, so they got to get some people in here ASAP.
Yeah, I would imagine that they bring in a couple of good different guys to try out. They just signed a new tight end, so we'll see.
Thomas Yasmin, baby.
Oh,
some good news from today.
Is that? Oh, I thought he was like a Utah player or something.
He is a Utah player.
He is Utah. Okay, I'm like, I thought you were just sarcastically cheering him.
No, he
season 6.
Yeah. Former Utah blocking tight end out of Australia. So he's technically counting for their new international pathways player position. So that's fun. But that's only fun for like me and like 6 other Chargers fans that I know who are also Utah fans. Okay, in-house steps for the Chargers. We mentioned this. Joe Alt is going to be the left tackle. Full stop. I know, again, there are a lot of people out there who are hoping for something different. It is going to be Joe Alt. This is the solution that the Chargers are going to come up with. It is the solution that they have workshopped, in previous moments. It is going to be Joe Alt at left tackle. Jim Harbaugh essentially guaranteed that Zion Johnson, Bradley Bozeman are going to be left guard, center, respectively. Mekhi Becton is going to be right guard. I think they could potentially workshop this if they wanted to. But right now, I do expect it to be Becton and then Pipkins at right tackle. Jamari Sawyer has played tackle in the past. We can talk about that as well. But Jim Harbaugh has been pretty steady that Sawyer is a guard first, and he can play tackle in a pinch. But in the short term, for week 1, I expect the lineup we have on the screen, again, Alt, Johnson, Bozeman, Becton, and Pipkins, in that order, to be the starting offensive line in week 1.
Yeah, I completely agree. I understand. Okay, there's a subjective, objective sort of thing with Jamari Sawyer in his rookie season, where subjectively, wow, hey, given the circumstances, barely being able to practice, being thrown out at tackle as a rookie, admirable job. And I think genuinely did save a couple of games for them just by not being awful, because they were out of options. Thank goodness Jamari Sawyer was there that year and was able to play tackle at what I'm guessing now was maybe a heavier weight than he should have been at. I have no idea. But then there's the objective fact that it was the 10th worst pass blocking efficiency in the league at tackle as a rookie, which is, different than he is right now. He is a more veteran player, but he's been generally exclusively interior offensive line focused now. He was not even a good tackle. Good for a rookie, but he wasn't a good tackle.
Good in the circumstances, and admirable is the word that I've always used, like you mentioned.
Yeah. So I just think we need to make sure we're understanding that Jamari Sawyer looked great. There was a lot of protecting Jamari Sawyer there. There's a lot of trying to get it out as quick as possible. This is definitely not the scheme to help him out with that. At this point, Joe Lombardi in that year probably does a better job keeping Herbert in the quick game more so. Whether you agree with the offense or not, this is definitely not the one for Jamari Sawyer. Their MO this entire time has generally been to go with Joe Walt at left tackle. Last year when Slater had a couple of issues, Alt was at left tackle off and on during camp. The only time that Jamari Sawyer was a left tackle is because they also lost their right tackle, and it was a whole mess the previous year. They lost both players for that game. So of course Jamari Sawyer had to play tackle, but he's firmly their guard. Trey Pipkins has been their swing. He's going to be their right tackle this year. I think you lose, Trey Pipkins, then I think Mekhi maybe kicks out to right tackle. I don't know. At that point, I'll just live stream Pokemon instead of watching games, I suppose. But yeah. So we're gonna be. This is the group. It's kind of the thing that Chargers fans do, which is here's the hypothetical potential option that could be better. Let me suggest it. But this team, the Chargers, the Jim Harbaugh era, they're very just not simple, but it's just going to be what they've been telling us. It's not going to be some magical new combination. Hey, Bradley Bozeman's a starter, center, shocker. Trey Pipkins is your right tackle, Joe Alt's your left tackle, and just pray it all works.
Yeah, for all of the Jim Harbaugh doesn't like talking to the media people. He basically told us from day one that they were going to be drafting an offensive lineman in the first round last year. He basically told us from day one that Trey Pipkins was going to be starting in some capacity last year. He doesn't withhold secrets. He tells us one way or another. And I think this is the lineup we will see. If it doesn't go well, I could see them workshopping it a little bit. Maybe you put Becton at right tackle, Sawyer at guard. But for all of the flack that Trey Pipkins gets from the fan base, and I get he hasn't been an awesome player, but he's been a serviceable offensive tackle in the past, and he was a full point better in pass blocking efficiency than Jamari Sawyer when the two of them were full-time starters in 2022. Sawyer was at 96.1, Pipkins was at 97.1, and Pipkins was the one who they were leaving one-on-one that year. Not Jamari Sawyer. Jamari Sawyer was getting all kinds of chip help, double team help, etc. Pipkins was the one that they trusted one-on-one. So that coaching staff told you all that they thought Trey Pipkins was the better offensive tackle than Sawyer. This current staff told you that Pipkins was also the better guard than Jamari Sawyer. And now they are also telling you that they think he is better at offensive tackle than Sawyer. And I think all of that is justified. The numbers back it up. I think that has always been the case on film. This is not an anti-Jamari Sawyer thing. I've always felt that he is best suited at guard. And I know Pipkins at guard didn't like go super well. I'm right there with you. But as a pure tackle, Pipkins has always been a better option. And he's going to get a lot of hate. You know, he's probably going to give a couple sacks to Max Crosby or whatever. Max Crosby is one of the best edge rushers in the league. Like, that's going to happen. But now that Pipkins is going to be the second offensive tackle, they can dedicate more help to him. They can chip, etc. Mm-hmm. I'm okay with Trey Pipkins playing here. I think he is a serviceable starting offensive tackle in this league who has shown moments that he can be even potentially above that. Are there some weaknesses as a run blocker? Sure. But people in the chat right now, people on Twitter are acting like Pipkins is the same level of like Trent Scott and Storm Norton, etc. And that's just never been the case. Like, again, you can think whatever you want, but two coaching staffs, the film, the numbers all show that this guy has been at least an average offensive tackle. So I understand, and people in the chat right now are saying that I'm crazy. You can think whatever you want. I'm telling you right now that he is an average starting tackle, and there are much worse Slater potential replacements out there that we have all seen. And there are not many teams out there that have a backup like Trey Pipkins in here. So, again, I know what the fan base thinks. I think they are wrong in regards to Trey Pipkins, and I think he is a fine player. But, yes, it is going to be a fall down from Rashawn Slater, obviously. But I think Trey will be fine.
I hope so. I think it's difficult to figure out what it officially is going to be with Trey Pipkins because for several years, genuinely terrible. For the specifically 1 year and contract year, I'd say average to above average. Some games like genuinely impressive. I honestly couldn't believe it, how good he was in some games. Not that he was Rashawn Slater, not that he was a Joe Alt. You know, he's not a Lane Johnson. But I was genuinely impressed by year 4, how he had developed. The other issue is that I think where kind of Chargers fans are back now is, well, then it was not really good after that. Like that 1 year, like it's just, what are you going to get? And this is where I hope these Chargers offensive line coaches and Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman and Andy Bischoff and all these guys can really like make their money here. Can Trey Pipkins be for them closer to what he was in his contract year than generally what he has been through most of his career? I think as a backup option, that's fine. You could do worse. And thankfully it's not like you're bringing somebody new and he has to learn all this and that. You can play him at different spots. Should things happen, you can move him around. I don't know. But like you feel okay with him as a backup. Been there, done that. Year 2 with this group. But it's going to be, I'm very curious what this coaching staff can get out of him. It did not work at right guard last year, but you were always like dubious of the fact that would ever really work. You just didn't find that to be much of a fit for him anyway. So we'll see. The most recent thing we've seen from Trey Pipkins is not very good. But he has been, as you said, average at least once. Let's just say like average, even at like let's put it in the middle. So can they get him to be that this year? If they can get Trey Pipkins to average, there's a lot more hope for this season. Let's see Jim Harbaugh. Let's see Mike Devlin. Let's see what they can do with him. I'm skeptical. I'm not as pessimistic as the chat. I'm not as optimistic as you, but I'm somewhat hopeful this team can make it work. But like you said, it is a very big drop off, the play that we're about to see.
For sure. And I'm right there with that part. And people are in the chat are saying like, oh, he's an average tackle. That doesn't win you a Super Bowl. Like, no shit, it doesn't win you a Super Bowl. That's not what we're talking about. To be fair to Trey Pipkins, he had 2 starts last season in offensive tackle, allowed 3 pressures, pretty good performances there. In 2021, he started 3 games, only allowed 3 pressures in 3 games. The 2023 season was not great. I've always been upfront about that. I don't think that particular scheme from Kellen Moore was really doing him any particular favors. I think he will be fine. I'm not expecting him to be like this awesome replacement tackle. Like, this is not going to be somebody who's going to come in and be, a Pro Bowl tackle this year. I think he can be average. And for a Chargers swing tackle stepping in for replacement, that's pretty good. And I agree with the fan base that he was not good at guard. Like you said, I never thought that was going to work out. But there are a lot of teams out there who their backup offensive tackle is significantly worse than what you have in Trey Pipkins. So again, that's all I'm saying. Do I think Pipkins is like this awesome offensive tackle? No, I think he is like firmly average. And for a backup, that's fine. That's the better than like 80% of the league at backup offensive tackle. So I think he will be okay. I do not think he will be awesome. To be completely clear here, he is going to be a step down from Rashawn Slater. But I think Pipkins can be manageable over there, and they can help him chip all that stuff. So my take here has always been that Pipkins is a better offensive tackle than Sawyer, and I stand by that. Two offensive coaching staffs have said that as well. The numbers back that up, etc. So we don't have to talk a ton more about that.
Yeah.
For what it's worth, again, the Chargers need healthier bodies. Corey Stewart and Ryan Nelson have been rotating at right tackle with the second team offense when all three tackles are healthy. Now those two guys are the second team offensive tackles and the third team offensive tackles. They're going to get a lot of reps, which is good for them. They're going to play, I would imagine, every snap in the preseason. Right now, those two would be your internal swing tackle candidates. So I can't imagine the Chargers are going to go into the season with those two as, on the 53 and being your main backup offensive tackle. But for now, that unfortunately is the case.
Yeah, and I think that's where they're going to look, and we'll discuss this in a little bit. I think they're going to look more for that department, the guys that are your next veteran swing tackle options, or at least like any kind of backup tackle options for them to play ahead of Corey Stewart and Ryan Nelson should something happen.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, before we continue, going to do a quick little ad read for our friends over at Prize Picks, the best and easiest way to consume daily fantasy sports. This is truly one of the more fun things that we've experienced from doing the podcast is getting able to partner with Prize Picks, talk to you guys in the Discord, talk to you guys online about, whatever picks you are floating around. And basketball season is obviously over. Football season is right around the corner. You could have used Prize Picks today if you wanted to on the Bengals, who are actually like playing starters today. So if you were interested in that, that was potentially like free money for you. But obviously the action does not stop on Prize Picks because baseball is still heating up. We are still several weeks away from the baseball playoffs happening. So make sure and step up to the plate with Prize Picks and add your favorite baseball players to your lineup today. Whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, first inning runs, make your call with more or less and play for your shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash today. Again, that is 2,000 times your cash today. Simply download the app on whatever app store you use. Use the code GUILTY at checkout to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, Prize Picks app. Use the code GUILTY to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, let's get into some potential replacements here. Again, we are not really focusing on potential replacements for Rashawn. I think we're trying to replace Trey Pipkins' role for swing tackle. The first one is somebody that we brought up heading into the training camp is Mr. Evan Neal, who's playing primarily guard for the Giants in training camp right now. He's obviously played left tackle, right tackle in the NFL and in college. And to me, I think if the Chargers were going to trade for somebody, I think Evan Neal is probably at the top of the Chargers list. He very clearly fits the kind of physical archetype that they are looking for in terms of size, pedigree, draft status, and obviously there's the Annie Bischoff connection. So yeah, people in the chat, we are down bad. This is where we are at with the Rashawn Slater injury, but I do think an Evan Neal trade as a swing tackle could potentially make sense for the Chargers here.
I have an ambulance going by right now, which that's Rashawn Slater. I think, okay, yes, the Chargers are down bad. The list of names, not only are they not 100% even inspiring, most of them aren't even really available. This is a lot of speculation, things to keep an eye on, names to keep an eye on. For the most part, though, like tackles don't get traded. Tackles that are like
good tackles are very rarely traded in the off season, let alone during the season.
Right. So if you're hoping for a really good swing tackle to suddenly be traded, I highly doubt it. Those players are on the teams and they're going to stay on those teams. So just really quickly, like the trade options we brought up, Evan Neal, as you pointed out, going back to the Andy Bischoff, thing there, the reclamation project kind of deal, that makes sense. I could see that. We also have Braxton Jones in Chicago. He's currently their LT1, but that could change. We'll see. DJ Humphries, again, that depends if Alaric Jackson is officially healthy. Rasheed Walker is also the LT. Rasheed Walker would be hilarious. I will have to find the clip of me saying he's a bike thief somewhere.
That's an incredibly niche reference to the podcast. If you know, you know.
If you know the bike thief, like Rasheed Walker reference, you've been here for a while. But if Morgan wins the job over there, could be possible. Again, if Rasheed Walker is your swing tackle, the Packers aren't trading him, but we have to bring these names up because it's there, and he is a free agent next year. Kendall Lamb from Philly, the connection to Devlin, and very long shot, Titus Howard, another connection to Devlin there. This is it, guys. It's not like I saw someone somewhere was like, they should trade for Lane Johnson. I'm like, well, that's a brilliant idea, except for the part where that's never going to happen. Like, I'd be all for it.
He's only the best right tackle in the league right now, and it's been in Philly forever.
Yeah,
sure.
Maybe they were saying that in jest. I don't know, but like these guys are not. You can't trade for these guys. And by the way, if they do trade for one of these guys, that just lowers the chances they're going to trade for like a Micah Parsons, like some people are hoping, because you're now running out of picks. And your future's even more in jeopardy now that your tackles hurt. So, yeah, Evan Neal, Braxton Jones, DJ Humphries, Rasheed Walker, Kendall Lamb, Titus Howard. That's not Rashawn Slater. None of those guys are even close. But those are some trade candidates on teams that are their free agents next year, or they're losing a roster battle. We'll see. Are any of those teams even going to be bad enough to want to trade anybody? I don't really think so. But that's what we got. If you have a better realistic option, happy to hear it.
Yeah, I long shot was Titus Howard. I just, I saw that he was in Houston at the time when Devlin was there. Same thing with Kendall Lamb. So I was like, okay, whatever. Some of these guys are starting. Some of them are potential backups. I do think Kendall Lamb could be like potentially interesting. The Eagles have quite a few players who could be, their swing tackle and stuff like that. So I think Kendall Lamb, of any player who's potentially available for trade, is probably the one. So maybe keep an eye on that one there. I think that would be a fine swing tackle option. Where I think they will ultimately land is in free agency in some capacity, whether that's now or after cutdown day. As some of these players are on here, if they want to sign somebody now, which I think they could potentially or should potentially be looking into, I think George Fant is probably the most likely option here. He has the connection to Chad Alexander from the 2023 season in New York. So there's some familiarity there. The scheme fit isn't super clean, but he's logged over 2,000 career snaps at both tackle spots. And I think that makes a lot of sense. Veteran player who could kind of come in and stabilize that position. The other quote unquote big name that's available is Jedrick Wills, who, according to Jordan Schultz, before the seasons or before training camps even started, said that he's potentially taking the whole year off to get healthy. As you have here on the screen, he has not played since November 2023. There's also been like weight issues in Cleveland and character issues in Cleveland and etc. But again, the Chargers have shown that they care a lot about pedigree and did Harbaugh recruit you and etc. Can you play on both sides? That's all true for Jedrick Wills. So maybe they can figure something out until November, and then Jedrick Wills kind of comes in at that time. Maybe, I don't know. That's obviously not an ideal situation. But again, just given like the archetype and how they've handled every other position, I think Jedrick Wills is worth bringing up.
Yeah. Jedrick Wills, who hasn't played since 2023, might not play most of this year and potentially has weight issues. That's kind of where we're at, folks. But again, we're not trying to replace Rashawn Slater. We're trying to have at least somebody to replace the Trey Pipkins role, which would have been swing tackle. So sure, I think that's potentially an option for them. You also have Wanya Morris on here if he's cut. The Commanders of Andrew Wiley, Foster Sorrell. Hello. Hey, Foster Sorrell, I'm back, baby. Or Tyree Phillips, who can play like all over the offensive line. And then absolute shot in the dark, but we've seen them bring in Tony Jefferson and Nyheim Hines-Miller. So LaRaven Clark, he was playing for 2 years with Marcus Brady in Indy. He not followed him, but he also played left tackle in Philly as well while Marcus Brady was there. So there's a tiny connection there. Again, that's just random. This is the best we can do, guys. This is it. You can look at the offensive tackle free agent list, and it's like 8 names, and I've heard of 2 of them. That's kind of where we're at here. So George Fant, Jedrick Wills, Wanya Morris, Andrew Wiley, Foster Sarell, Lucas Niang, Tyree Phillips, if somebody's cut, or LaRaven Clark. That's where we're at.
Yeah. Not great. So I think George Fant for me is like the one that you do. I think that makes the most sense. But yeah, the list of names is not great. And people will look at this and say, well, you could just trade for so and so on X team, and they're offensive linemen do not get traded. Like, quality offensive linemen are very hard to find in the NFL. There are several teams who have like actively bad starters, worse than Bradley Bozeman type players, across their line. Like, we were like kind of talking about Patrick McCarry as like, oh, like he'd be an interesting sign for the Chargers. The Jaguars gave him like $40 million to be their best offensive lineman. Like it's bad around the league, you guys. So offensive linemen are just difficult to come by. So if they can sign George Fant, I think that helps. I think he would be a quality option there. Otherwise, they could try and do the whole UFL thing and then see who gets cut and try and wait, because the Commanders, like all 4 of those guys have been, at least like interesting players at one point or another. And they have 2 other guys who are definitely making the team. So the Commanders are the one team that has like 6 offensive tackles for whatever reason. But yeah, it's not great. It's tough. It's not a good market.
No. So what we've seen with the Chargers and what they do, Joel digital left tackle. If you are hoping for anybody to step in and play over Trey Pipkins, 1, I don't believe that's happening anyway. But 2, I mean, this is our list, and half of them aren't even officially available. Evan Neal, Braxton Jones, DJ Humphries, Rasheed Walker, Kendall Lamb, maybe Titus Howard, George Fant, Jedrick Wills, Wanya Morris, Andrew Wiley, Foster Sarell, Lucas Niang, Tyree Phillips, LaRaven Clark. So again, like, you tell me if any of those players are really starting over Trey Pipkins walking into the Chargers building. It's not happening. Trey Pipkins is your week 1 starter. Just find some depth behind him.
Yeah. I think obviously their other option could be to sign like a guard or, wait for a guard thing. And then again, you would have to think about like Becton playing tackle or Jamari playing tackle. Yeah. But if you're talking pure tackles, this is where we're at. For what it's worth, Lucas Niang also tore his patella tendon. Obviously has never been the level of player that Rashawn Slater was, but he is still in the NFL and he is still playing. So again, very different situations, but worth pointing out, I think.
Yeah.
Man, to go from the Keenan Allen show to this show just sucks. It's not a good time right now.
Nope, not at all. We had almost 700 people in here at one point, so God bless you for even sticking around to hear about Jedrick Wills potentially replacing Trey Pipkins at swing because Rashawn Slater's out for the season. I like episodes like this because I feel better having talked about it, and I'll feel good for a few more weeks, and then I'll watch the Chargers play the Chiefs, the Broncos, the Raiders, and the Giants, the defensive lines back to back to back to back, and then I'll shed a few tears potentially.
I mean, to be fair, like the Giants, that's my fear there is way more about Dexter Lawrence than the edge rushers. Dexter Lawrence against Bradley Bozeman is not going to be fun to watch. Dexter Lawrence is
kind of way. It'll be entertaining.
Dexter Lawrence is like the most unique player in the NFL. I think that's not going to be great to see, but it is what it is. All right, we'll zoom through some of these super chats. We have 15 of them, which is super kind of you guys, spreading some fun, vibes, I think, at least in this time. So we'll kick us off with Richard here. He says, we look at the curse of the Bambino and say, hold our beer. No one has it worse than us. Stay strong, Bolt fam. Just spitballing. Could we make the line Alt, Zion, Bozeman, Sawyer, Becton? Keep Trey at swing and sign an O-line.
It's a conversation I'm sure they're going to have. Like, it is definitely possible that happens. If Trey Pipkins is god awful, okay. To be fair, I don't know how he's supposed to be good the first 4 weeks. It's a miracle if he's good the first 4 weeks when those defensive lines are going after him. But if he is truly terrible and you get to that late season bye, yeah, it's possible. it is definitely possible they make this move. But even then, they might even just keep Becton at right guard and make Sawyer a right tackle. So I don't know.
Yeah, we talked about when the schedule came out, like that stretch of games after the bye week where you're going Philly, Chiefs, Cowboys, Texans, Broncos. Like if you're feeling any sort of, fear, I guess, that Pipkins can hold up in that stretch, then during the bye week, I think you can make that change. If they get through the Vikings game, and they're doing okay, I think we'll see Pipkins play the rest of the year. And that's kind of my expectation, is like maybe they reassess before the Steelers game in week 10. That's kind of obviously with their defensive line, that's maybe where you could potentially see a change. But
yeah,
they have made their intentions clear. I know that there are people hoping for otherwise, but they have made their intentions clear at every single possible turn that Pipkins will be their starting right tackle. Joe Alt will be a left tackle.
Yep. Yeah.
Alex says, do we seriously think Slater is able to play at a high level after this injury? Feels like this is really bad for roster construction, financial long term. The financial aspect of this sucks. I mean, obviously the Chargers paid him a lot of money, a lot of guaranteed money. I still think he will be back. I think it's just more of a question of like the ceiling of his play versus, is he back at all? Like, I don't think this is a career ender. I think he will be back at some point. It's just a fear of how that looks.
Yeah, I think so. What do you think, G?
Dark Samus says, draft an OG OT with positional flexibility. Any Utah OTs? I mean, yes, there are two of them actually. Both of them will be gone much earlier than the Chargers will be picking. I think even after this Rashawn Slater injury, they needed to draft a guard before today.
Hey, they did. Ethan Taylor.
Yeah, as we talked about on last show, like they got to draft one early next year, even before the Slater injury. So,
yeah. Yep.
Rick with a simple gun to a sad face. I feel you, man. Right there with you.
Yeah, hang in there, guys. Hang in there. There'll be plenty of entertaining games.
Yeah. Leia Smith says, thank you for this discussion. Very much appreciated. We do our best to have a measured conversation in moments like these, and we are happy that some of you appreciate it, and hopefully everybody else does as well. But thanks to Leia for jumping in here as well, as always.
Yeah, thanks for jumping in. Thanks for always being positive. Thanks for hanging in there with us, the good and the bad. We'll be here no matter what.
Lorenzo says, my birthday is tomorrow, but the vibes are definitely off now. SMH, I swear I can never go into a season super stoked.
The good news is it's been very positive, then negative, then positive and negative this offseason. So you know what? Tomorrow, it'll be something good. I don't know what. We're out of players to bring back from the 2010s, but you know what? You never know.
What's Joe Barksdale up to right now?
I think he's playing guitar. Last time I checked.
Lorenzo, man, enjoy your birthday. Use that as an excuse to not think about the Chargers. Have a good time. Whatever kind of floats your boat from a birthday perspective, just go ham. Make it a birthday that you'll never forget. And happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday, man.
Chorizo Gumpapa says, in order to cope, I bought a dozen Hungry Bear cookies, a Cold Stone Love It, Strawberry Surf Rider from Jamba Juice, and 2 Me and Ed's pizzas. # food for soul.
Cookies, Cold Stone, Jamba Juice, pizzas. Hey, go for it, man. That does sound like how I eat during the draft weekend. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, for sure.
Wings, pizza, smoothies, coffee.
Yeah,
that's how it goes.
Yeah. This is incredibly niche because he's in the area where I am, but Hungry Bear cookies are some of my favorite cookies that I've ever tried in my life. Like, I don't know what it is, but they're just like nice and doughy and soft, and like they're just really, really good.
Yeah.
Nitzer666 says, what a roller coaster of emotions these last few days. Feel bad for the man. I hope for a speedy recovery. Yeah, man, the emotions of going from the Keenan Allen signing to this is just drastically different. Yeah, give a high five. Give a high five, Gladrill.
Yeah. Oh,
nice job.
Yeah, nice job. Very good.
And yes, like Nitzer says, hope for a speedy recovery for sure. Isaiah and Kelsey Lewis, doesn't this damage the run blocking effectiveness? Yes, for sure it does. Rashawn Slater was one of the best run blocking left tackles in the league last year. So, and if there is an area where I would like to see Joe Alt grow the most, it was run blocking, heading into this season. And I think he has done enough to take that step. But like we mentioned earlier, just the geography of the line changes dramatically, where you had both sides could be dominant run blocking units. Now you're going to be good on the left side, I feel like, but right side is still a bit of a weakness like last year was.
Yeah. I saw Daniel Popper post the video for Rashawn Slater blocking, and everyone just letting him hear it that's too soon.
That's mean. That's mean.
Yeah, everyone was not happy with him for that one.
Jesse, do we take a chance on Jedrick Wills? We talked about that.
Potentially,
but that's down the road, not right now.
Yeah.
Zach Scott G says, so basically on every third down, either Omarion or Najee will chip on Trey's side. I mean, not every third down, but yeah, a lot of third downs.
Yes. Yeah.
Anthony Rhodes, what does this injury mean for Slater long term? I think we've kind of discussed this, but appreciate Anthony for sending a super chat.
Yeah.
Nature's Calls podcast says, for the Slater rehab GoFundMe, I will say his mentor Duke Manyweather did tear his patellar tendon, so he has kind of a person to look at. Obviously Duke's not an NFL player right now, but he'll be plenty supported. Duke uses a ton of high-end sports science to come back from injuries like that. I think he will be back. It's just a matter of what level.
Yeah, Duke did stem cell treatment, if I'm not mistaken. I messaged you about that one time. That's kind of interesting because I was doing my internship at the time. It's kind of a weird crossover of things.
When I had my knee surgery, the doctor also discovered that my cartilage in my knee was just essentially non-existent, because I had super cool, right? But just because of the wear and tear I had put my body through from years and years of AAU basketball and football and everything like that, he was like, yeah, so we're going to fix your patella tendon, and then we're also going to do stem cell treatment to replenish your cartilage. So that definitely helped. But again, I was not a professional athlete recovering from that injury. So I'm sure it's an option that him and his team will consider.
You got the money.
Sure does. Reality Check says, I'll take Steven at left tackle over Pip. That's just mean. I also never played left tackle, by the way.
I would also take it. You know what? Go get your contract. And no, I wouldn't take it over Pipkins. But for you specifically, I would love to.
For me, yeah.
Yeah, just get out there. I'll buy your jersey if you could sign it for me. That'd be awesome. I'll display it behind me. I'll put it next to the Keenan Allen jersey, and then I'll pick you up 2 plays later when you're dead on the floor.
Yeah, there was that. There's that trend going around from the football team social medias asking if an average person could gain 1 yard in an NFL game. They should do that for offensive line version, where do you think you could block just any do you think you could block Chris Rumpf 1-on-1 in an NFL game?
How much money's on the line? Who's the quarterback? Get it out quick.
I'm talking about just a one-on-one drill, you versus Chris Rumpf 10 times. How many reps are you actually winning?
0. I'm winning 0. But can I speed bump 100%? I can do the flying monkey and just jump up on him and draw a penalty or whatever, but it'll work.
It'll work. Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah, get your money, Steven.
I would love to have been a professional athlete, obviously, but it wasn't in the cards for me.
Random, but FBS gone to saying, can you tackle Derrick Henry 1 out of 100 times? I love I don't know if it was the NFL Network who did it or whatnot, but they do the silhouette of the player. You have to try to guess who it is, and it's which 6'2", 220 running back did you think this was?
With the hair too?
Yeah. It's what giant running back trucking people over did you think this was going to be? So that made me laugh.
Yeah. Could I tackle Derrick Henry 1 time out of 100? Absolutely not. It's not happening.
No. No, thank you.
No.
I'd rather block Chris Rumpf for sure.
I mean, yeah. Duh. I was trying to be like a little nice to the people because blocking is, I think, more difficult than tackling or running the football. But
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, I'm not trying to tackle Steven Jackson. No, thank you.
yeah. Try blocking Khalil Mack as an average person.
No.
Do you remember? I forget which show they used to do, like an average
Joes
Joe
versus
versus yeah.
Loved that show, dude.
There was an episode where like Brandon Jacobs was on it. Do you remember Brandon Jacobs?
Oh yeah, yeah.
The guy who was like tasked with tackling him like comes in. He's like, I'm definitely gonna tackle Brandon Jacobs. He's like an average running back. Like I'm good. And then Jacobs just like destroyed him. That was so funny.
Oh my god, the Brandon Jacobs, Ahmad Bradshaw era for the Giants was pretty fun. Brandon Jacobs was a sight to behold.
Yeah. Dude, his son is like 6'6" and is like a 5-star tackle recruit.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I think he's going to Clemson, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow. Okay. All right. Yeah, this is a big dude.
Yeah,
big guy.
Never thought we would talk about pros versus Joes on this show, but
loved that show. That was such a good show.
Christian Fox says Herbert got to get the ball out quick to Keenan and Ladd. This is the only way. Yeah, for sure. Quick game. That's not exactly a strength of Greg Roman's, unfortunately. But yeah, quick game definitely needs to increase for sure.
Yes, it's going to have to. That is, I guess we are thankful that they do have Keenan Allen because it is just like find those two and forget the rest at this point this year, unfortunately. Also, side note, I could be wrong. Guys, did Antonio Gates do pros versus Joes? I believe he did once. It was like him and Hakeem and somebody else, I think, for basketball, excuse me, not for football. If I'm not mistaken, Antonio Gates was in pros versus Joes.
He sure was.
Yeah.
Sure was.
That memory was somewhere way back there.
The episode he was on featured Terrell Owens and Donovan McNabb. Yeah, he was on there. Work Done was on that season. Man, what a show. Imagine again, you cover Antonio Gates 10 reps. How many yards does he get?
He breaks his own record. He unretires because he thinks he's so good. He still got it. He unretires. That's how bad I'm dead.
Yeah. Good pull by you. Shout out to Antonio Gates on that show.
Yeah, that's fun stuff.
Dark Samus, aren't RDEs easier assignments for Pipkins? So that would be the left tackle.
Oh, right defensive end. I'm an idiot. I was like, what is this?
Technically speaking, I think Pipkins is much more comfortable on the right side than the left side. Like I think that's been borne out through various seasons, but nowadays every team has 3 or 4 edge rushers that are good. Like there's no easier assignments. There are more difficult assignments for sure. But Pipkins himself is more comfortable on the right side.
Yeah. And it doesn't like the Raiders aren't going to put other edge rusher against Trey Pipkins all game. It is almost exclusively going to be Max Crosby.
Yeah. Malcolm Kuntz is the other one. Is he healthy?
Did he come back? He was.
I thought he was back for them.
I wasn't sure if he was or not. I got this. Let's look at why not? Raiders depth chart. They're playing it a little bit. My dad will have some stuff to say. I guess I should watch it because he watches the Chargers stuff. It is Malcolm Kuntz. He is back. And then Tyree Wilson, otherwise known as Keenan's, son. And Charles Snowden, Jaw Joyner, Tonka Hemingway, Andre Carter, Jafari Harvey. Yeah, so Max Crosby's lining up against Trey Pipkins.
Yeah. I mean, he almost always aligns on that side anyway. Like there was a time last year where he was like, oh, Joe Alt, I'm kind of sick of you. Let me go to the other side. And then Slater kicked his ass. And he was like, oh, I'll go back to Joe Alt. So, yeah.
I know. It's so I'm so bummed we don't get to watch that this year. Yeah.
It sucks. Ron Swanson. Shout out to Ron Swanson. Appreciate him for jumping in here. Hopefully your mustache is doing good. He wants to know, is our season cooked?
The season is not cooked, but I believe the success they have against the great teams or better teams is going to be less with Rashawn Slater out. And that might include a playoff game, which for one other year, we're going to have to hear about it again with the Chargers and Herbert, but let's just get there.
Yeah. Cooked, no. More difficult for sure.
Yeah.
Mike Maris wants to know more cursed franchise than the Chargers, Browns, Lions. I think you could also throw the Vikings in there. Maybe the Bills.
Bills 0 for 4. Yeah. The Chargers have bad luck, but they've at least for most of our lifetimes had great quarterback play. So at least there's that. You have the Browns and how bad they are, and also just the list of quarterbacks that have gone in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. So yeah, the Browns have it worse. Like, God hates the Browns. I genuinely believe God hates the Browns. And sometimes it's also their fault when you sign a Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, that one is a self-inflicted wound that is going to make God hate them even more. But yeah, man, the last 25 years or whatever since the Browns moved, we're back into Cleveland. It's a disaster. Like multiple, 1-win seasons, 2-win seasons. They have potentially the best defensive end of NFL history, and it's not going to matter. They have arguably the best left tackle in NFL history, and it didn't matter. Joe Thomas and Myles Garrett just like wasting away in Cleveland for no reason. Granted, like Myles Garrett could have decided to actually leave this year.
Yeah. Yes.
I think he potentially was considering it until the Browns were like, hey, how about $42 million? Okay.
Sure.
So yeah, I think any answer about like who has it worse, I think is always the Browns. Up until recently, I probably would have said the Lions.
Mm-hmm.
But now the Lions are like the class of the NFC, over the last 2 seasons. So they're doing fine.
Yeah, they're doing okay. But yeah, cursed, I would say Browns. Although they did beat the Chargers to get their 1 win of the season, that one season.
Yeah.
Which is fun.
Asking about Jim Harbaugh press conferences. He has not had one yet. That presumably will be tomorrow. Today was Jesse Minter. Tuesday was Ryan Ficken. Monday was Greg Roman. So presumably should be Jim Harbaugh tomorrow before practice. And hopefully we can get some more information. I doubt it, but hopefully we can get some information and clarity and things like that.
Yeah, say it with me. We like the guys in our room. Trey Pipkin stepped up for us last year. We're going to do our best, but competitors are always welcome. There. Make your bingo card, circle it, stamp it when it gets there.
Yeah. Oh, man. Tough day. My principal is a Chargers fan, and when that news came down, the two of us, like, I went into his office and I was like, did you see the notification? And he's like, yeah, how the hell am I supposed to work today? So it just it was a tough day, obviously, for the fan base. You guys in the chat, we're going through it, but as is life as a Chargers fan, I suppose.
Yes, there will be something positive in the future, I'm sure. But at this point, let's just wrap this offseason, get up, go to Brazil, and hope for the best.
Yeah, I'm over the offseason. I'm over the 2 extra weeks of practice and an extra preseason game. I'm over it. I do not want this again.
What you wish for, right? Like, summer was quicker, but then it's like we still have 3 more games to go. I mean, they've had nothing but bad things happen the last 2 weeks. What's another 3 weeks going to do for this team?
Yeah, not good. Okay, we were going to touch on the preseason game that's happening on Sunday. So we'll see what happens. I have not even spent any time thinking about that, but on Sunday afternoon, evening, we will be live shortly after that game goes final. Is the return of Brandon Staley and Kellen Moore and things
and Chris
like
Rumpf.
That. And Chris Rumpf. And Chris Rumpf.
I'll be there, baby.
Spencer Rattler can get his revenge from last time he played Jesse Minter's defense.
Spencer Rattler. Oh, man.
So I don't know, man. Hopefully the Chargers can put on a good show and give us a nice little distraction going forward there. If you missed it, I did announce the winner of the Antonio Gates jersey giveaway. So thank you to everybody who entered there. Hopefully the winner there can have some good vibes on a bad day from today. So hopefully that's a fun for you. Tyler, any other final thoughts before we head out?
I don't know, but Teresa con papas, that food sounded good. So maybe I should go just eat some junk food and call it a night.
Yeah, let's go. Everybody should just go treat yourself to whatever favorite dessert of your choosing, or pizza or cheese or pasta or whatever comfort food you're floating your boat these days. Just go treat yourself for tonight.
Yeah, have at it, guys. Have fun. People have, I genuinely 3 people have sent me a picture of them eating rice since their last show. And I love and respect that so much.
That is good. I had somebody say, "Hey, just listen to the episode 5 rice bowls on me," and that was a good one.
You know, maybe I'll have some victory rice this year. Like every time the Chargers win, I'll eat a bowl of rice.
Pepe Le Pew says he's going to eat a jar of mayo. If that's
Titans,
your comfort food, I think you need some help, buddy.
He's just eating the jar of mayo, not the mayo in it.
Oh, the glass.
jar.
You're eating the glass. Okay. I guess that's a little bit better.
Even
than
better,
eating
right?
An entire jar of mayonnaise.
Yeah. David Bakhtiari.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Send me
Bakhtiari
your rice.
hasn't played in a long time.
Isn't he like skinny and done now?
Yeah. Yeah. Danny says an In-N-Out 4x4.
Let's do it.
There you go. There you go. All right, guys. Appreciate the heck out of you. We'll see you on Sunday. This has been another episode of the Guilty as Charged podcast. As always, bolt up.